Hello, everyone. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes implementation group for CSI. Today is February 21, 2018. Let's get started. On the agenda first, we have a PR that needs attention. This is from David. David, do you want to talk about it?
Hi. Yeah, so this is just a PR for kind of piping Kubernetes mount device, unmount device to the new CSI node stage volume, node unstage volume calls. So it's pretty straightforward. It's a lot of code because it's got some tests and I don't know, but a lot of it's actually taken from the setup at calls. Like it's a lot of the same stuff. But if anyone has familiarity with the internal CSI plugin, if you could take a look at that, that would be amazing.
Cool. Vlad, would you be interested in taking a look at this?
Yes, I'll take a look at it.
Cool. Awesome, and thanks for getting that in, David. That's pretty big. I know there was a lot of pushback on the CSI side, so I'm glad we got it in. Any other PRs that need attention at the moment?
Did you get a chance to look at is it? I'm blanking out. The attribute API, PR?
Yeah, I took a look at it last night. I think I've approved it from my end. Let me double check. The only thing it needs is a review from Tim Hawkins. And I pinged him yesterday. I'm going to ping him again today to remind him. It also needs a rebase. So Felipe is on the call.
He had jumped on the call Monday, so I told him I'll ping him on Slack.
Okay.
To just have it rebased.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it looks fine, and all we need is Hawkins' approval.
All right.
Any bugs to discuss or any other updates folks want to talk about? Otherwise, we'll just go through the agenda list. So the one announcement I have is that code freeze for Kubernetes is coming up on Monday, February 26th. That means that the things that we committed to for changes in the core Kubernetes, we need to get in as soon as possible. Remember that if you have a PR, it's going to need time to review as well. So we can just go through our list and see what remains and what it needs to continue. So first thing is moving the Kubernetes components from the 0.1 CSI to 0.2. Sergey did a great job of migrating all the internal and external components to point to the head version of CSI. We can't ship with the head version of CSI. So we're going to need to align with to the cut version of 0.2 from CSI. The cut for CSI is not going to happen until next week. But our plan is basically to make sure that we're pointing at head and we have all our changes in by Monday. And then once the release is cut for CSI 0.2, we can just go ahead and update the tag, and it's going to be basically a negligible change. It's just changing what we're pointing at, and there shouldn't be any delta in the code itself. The only two changes that I'm aware of that are still outstanding, container storage interface, if we go to the spec, go to issues, look at Milestones 0.2. There's one having clarification about probe. There should be no changes to the internal Kubernetes as a result of this change. And then there's this change, which is planning to version the packages for CSI. This will be something that we would need to pick up. They're trying to close on this by end of day Friday. So it's something that we need to kind of be on top of and make sure that we get in on Monday. Other than that, we've the work that Sergey's done has already picked up the other changes that that went into 0.2. So we're good there. We just need to keep an eye on this. Sergey, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool. So that's one more revision that we're going to need to do on Monday, just to pick this up, and then I think we'll be good.
Sure, yeah, I'll keep an eye on it.
Cool. So for now, I'm going to keep this orange. It's looking very good. I think we're in a good place. We just need to finish and make sure we point to the actual cut 0.2 version. Next item is moving mount propagation to beta. Looks like that went green. Thank you, Jan, for that. Have you heard any complaints? I guess most people probably still haven't tried it, but
Yeah, we will see after the release.
okay. All right, fingers crossed. Let's hope the world doesn't burn down. Volume attachments, API to beta. Nick finished that early on. Moving CSI API to beta. I believe this PR needed approval from Thakkin. I pinged him yesterday. I don't think he's gotten to it yet. I can remind him again. Yep. Yeah, so I'll ping him again on this PR. Updating the flag gates. Vlad, it sounds like we're looking good here. There was, you wanted to double check the default. Did you get a chance to do that?
I want to say yes, I did, and it looks good, but I do not remember.
Okay.
I'll make sure it is, but I'm pretty sure it is. So
okay.
Yeah,
I'll just leave this on there, and then we'll take a look at it next time, just in case.
Okay.
All right, thanks. And we already talked about the volume attribute PR. Felipe did a solid job here. It's just waiting for approval for merge. I'll ping Tim on that. Node authorizer changes are good. CSI credentials. I have a proposal out that Jordan is reviewing and Sergey is implementing. Sergey is on top of his stuff, so Sergey already has a PR out for this. The PR looks good to me, but I want to make sure that Jordan signs off on it as well. It's cutting it tight, but I think it might be able to make it in. So I'm going to leave that orange for now. Kubelet device plugin mechanism. There is a proposal out by Vikas that needs review. So either Chakri or I should be taking a look at that. If anybody else is interested in this, please feel free to jump on that design proposal. And I think Vikas also has a PR out that's trying to implement that proposal.
Are you trying to get this in?
I'm just playing it by ear. If they are able to get it in, we'll get it in. If they're not able to get it in, we're not, it's not the end of the world for us. We're going to continue to operate the way that we did. And once this thing kicks in, then we're going to need to make sure that we do the appropriate registration. I really would have liked to get this in this quarter, but it's a little bit outside of our control.
Okay.
But I need to take a to-do to review this as well. Okay. File systems is green. Improved CSI version handling in Kubernetes is green. Thank you, Luis. Enabling end-to-end tests. Do we have an update here?
Well, yes, there was a change for end-to-end test, which is currently in the Kubernetes main repo, and now it's been fixed, so it's running fine. Unfortunately, the documentation doesn't talk really much about how to deal with the test grid configuration.
I see.
I looked at it, and it's freaking disaster. So, I mean, if you guys have some document or some knowledge, please share, because it's
okay.
there are so many parameters, and none of them explained. One thing that Michelle told me, when the feature gets into the beta, basically by just removing a feature word from the E2E test description should automatically include it and start testing it. But since
Yes.
we're not in beta, I mean, it's hard to say for me.
There is a way, there is a alpha test suite running every now and then, and you can add your test there. But since the beta is very close, I'm not sure it's worth the effort.
Yeah, I'd say let's just target it at beta for now.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the test looks solid now.
So somebody from SIG test would probably be the best to help us out here. But we can punt this after Monday because it's an end-to-end test. It's not blocking for the code release or the code freeze. I say let's focus on the other items that we have and make this a P2 for now, and then we'll come back and look at it after the code freeze. Is that okay, Sergey?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, we'll just hold off on the end-to-end test after code freeze. Volume attachment from polling has been merged. Thank you to Lynn for that. Moving Docker to Quay, looks like Luis got to those changes and that's looking good. Topology, I have a PR out for the CSI spec. Those changes are not going to make it into 0.2. Mesos is currently pushing back on that because of the way that their system works. It makes it difficult for them to consume. So we agreed that we'll punt it to 0.3 release of CSI and follow up there. It's an additive change, so it shouldn't be backwards compatibility breaking. So we're okay with that. I would have preferred to have gotten it into this release so that we can have things like zones and regions start to work. But volume plugins could hack around that using the existing hacks that we have for topology. And Michelle got the topology design, larger topology design out for Kubernetes as well. And both of these align. So for now, I'm going to scratch this off of the list of items that we're tracking for this release. And then we'll pick it up again for the next release. But in the meantime, I'll continue to drive the spec and hopefully we can get it early in the next quarter. Block device support, I believe Aaron's team is just planning to design it this quarter. So we'll scratch that off. CSI implementing mount device. David had the changes into CSI. They got merged yesterday, and David's been working to get the associated Kubernetes changes in, and he has the PR, which he posted above. So that looks good. We'll leave it as is until it gets merged. Update spec dependency to 0.2, 0.1. That was a long time ago, so we're good there. So as far as the Kubernetes code freeze is looking, I think we're pretty good. All the PRs that we are waiting on are pending and just need to be reviewed and approved. For a couple of them, if they don't get in the credentials and the plugin mechanism, it's not the end of the world. I think we can still move to beta without them. Because they are additive changes, but hopefully we'll be able to get those in as well. Overall, pretty solid job. Next up are the CSI spec changes. So probe is currently still one of the two open issues that is pending. There's a PR out on the spec clarifying this. The changes that it is proposing are going to be out of the Kubernetes core. It would be basically how you deploy the volume plugin, connecting it to the Kubernetes liveness probe. So that means it doesn't have to be part of the code freeze. So we're good there. Topology, we're going to cut. It has been proposed, but it's not making it into the 0.2 release.
Quick question regarding the probe.
Yep.
So does that mean I haven't looked at the result of the discussion, but does that mean we don't have to probe anymore as we were planning to?
So we don't have to probe as part of any of our components, the internal components or external provisioner, external attacher, device registrar. The only purpose of the probe call is to serve as a health check,
Right.
and it should be plugged into the Kubernetes liveness health checking model that exists for pods. And so that means when you deploy a volume plugin, you specify that as part of the pod definition. For this particular pod, Kubernetes should hit this endpoint with this whatever makes sense for that particular volume plugin. So it's basically per deployment per plugin.
Now the question is with regard to Kubernetes implementation on that is, since the endpoint will be a gRPC endpoint, I'm guessing, will the the built-in Kubernetes Pro be able to handle that?
That's a good question because we don't expose the endpoint outside the container.
I mean, if it's only looking for a 200, then we can return an empty response.
Yeah, I think it depends on how the volume plugin wants to actually implement this call. So it's part of the interface. That means that the plugin has to implement something. And in order to hook it up to the Kubernetes liveness probe, we probably need some way to be able to proxy something that we expose from the container to that call. It doesn't need to expose anything else. The only thing it'll need to expose is this health probe. But we can do that past code freeze. And it'll only touch the external components if we do proxy.
I see. I was just curious because I've never used the live.
Yeah, I haven't either. I just vaguely understand how it generally works. But my understanding is basically Kubernetes allows you to specify for a particular pod, I want you to poke this particular endpoint with this particular call and make sure that I get success responses. And if it doesn't get that, then it'll assume that the container is bad and restart it.
And it's all RESTful, right?
I don't know. It'll be worth reading up on.
I'll look around.
Cool. Mount Devices is on the CSI side green. It got merged yesterday. So that's good. Allow volume drivers to implement controller if not necessary is good. The associated change here is going to be on the external attacher side. We can now probe plugin capabilities to check if a plugin actually implements a controller or not. If it doesn't implement a controller, we can just short circuit it. And then cleaning up CSI Proto, Sergey got this in and has the appropriate changes in all the right spots. Changes to the CSI repo, branch versioning for existing external components. I think this is an outstanding topic. We can leave discussing this for another meeting because I think that's a big topic, but we should figure this out before the end of this quarter. Once volume attributes merges, we need to make the associated changes with the external components. Is it okay? Is Felipe on the call? Can I put his name on this? Or we'll leave it unassigned for now, and then someone can pick it up once the time comes. So once volume attributes is updated, the external components that set the volume attributes today, I think the external provisioner, for example, will set annotation. It needs to be modified to actually use the real field instead of the annotation.
Okay.
So it should be fairly straightforward. It's just work that we need to make sure it doesn't slip through the cracks. Otherwise, it won't work properly.
Okay. Okay.
But it needs to wait until that PR gets merged.
Right. All right, I'll keep it on my radar
Okay.
if Felipe doesn't pick it up.
Okay. Moving external components from CSI 0.1 to 0.2. I'm going to mark this as orange for now because although Sergey has it updated for all the current changes, there is like one big change coming down the pipe at the end of this week, and we need to make sure that we handle that. Automated build system for external sidecar containers. Looks like Luis is finished with that. Tests for external sidecar container. I don't know if Luis is on the call. It doesn't look like it. We can get an update on that next week. Unit testing framework for CSI drivers is good. Automatic push to Quay is good. P1 external components should probe prior to storage ops. This we can look at after the probe CSI changes have gone in. Automated build system for drivers is outstanding, but we can focus on that post code freeze. Then updating docs is going to be the last thing that we will do. As far as the new CSI drivers are concerned, David, do you have a status on the GCE driver?
Haven't been working on it because of Mount Device.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can focus on that post code freeze. So for those who are interested, David has an official repository under GCP that has the skeleton of what the GCE driver will look like.
Awesome.
If you're interested in it, feel free to jump in and contribute. And please ping David if there are issues or bugs or anything that you want to talk about. And I don't believe we found anybody to work on an official AWS driver. If you guys have contacts, it might be worth pulling them out, and it would be nice to get an AWS official driver as well.
It's kind of weird because they did volunteer at the conference.
Yeah, I think if we don't get an official Amazon owner for this, who can put it in an official Amazon repository, then somebody else could volunteer to create an unofficial one and put it in their own repo somewhere.
Might be a good idea to post something in the SIG or in the storage Slack.
Yeah. Could you take that as an action item, Vlad?
Hey, yeah, I'll do it.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, that's pretty much it. Anything else on folks' minds? Anything you want to talk about?
If I could ask a quick question, I mean, it's not really, it's kind of related for the credentials and the security. So when I looked at the secret object, it has a type. And some plugins, they expect a certain value in the type. For example, for a RBD plugin, we were using Kubernetes IO/RBD to select the secrets which belongs to us. Are we planning to have a special type for a secret for CSI, or we ignore type at all? I mean, some guidelines would be.
We ignore the type altogether. CSI just says these are opaque key value parameters, and the plugin will dictate in its documentation what it expects. So in the documentation, it'll say, I want 2 secrets. One of them must be such and such. The key must be this, and the value must be this. And then the person who wants to consume this is going to read the documentation, and they will have to make sure that on the Kubernetes side, they create a secret that has the correct key and value. The type we don't really care about. We're not going to pass it through, so they can set it to whatever. I think opaque is the default, and that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Cool.
Excellent.
On a side note, these new MacBook Pros have terrible keyboards that are defective.
What?
We'll hit a, oh, it's so annoying. Anyway, thank you very much. We are at the end of the meeting. If there's nothing else anybody wants to discuss, then we'll call it.
All right.
All right, folks, take care. I'll see you on Friday.
All right, bye.
Bye.
See ya.